Okay, my name is Nick Benson here, Memorial Day 2021. Unfortunately, have to do a crop update to deal with frost damage and or freeze damage. So I am north of Wadena right now, and we're going to take a look in some cornfields and then go to some bean fields. So Friday night into Saturday morning, we had a freeze. I don't know how cold it got, I just know it got cold for a long period of time. As you can look behind me, you can see this crop is pretty badly damaged. The good news is with corn, you know, it got froze off completely. But the good news is you really don't start having the risk of severe injury until you get above about V5 or V6, which is about that tall or a little bit taller. So that means the growing point is still below ground. It's actually too little to even split and really find the growing point. But when you do cut into this, it's still green below the surface, and that growing point is still below the ground. So the corn I don't think is going to be a problem. The one problem that we may have is if it has a hard time growing through all of this dead, as it comes out, it's got to grow through this dead material. Taller corn is probably going to have a little bit harder of a time with that. So what's the yield impact? These are the questions I've been getting with corn. And so it would be very similar if you go to like a hail assessment, if this field would just get completely hailed off, because that's essentially what happened. All of this material on this young seedling, at the ground level, it's basically going to go away. And then it will continue to shoot up through here. And so about right now we're looking at 5 to 10% yield loss from basically cutting this corn off at the ground. So not good. It looks really bad at this moment. In another 2 to 3 weeks, it'll start greening up real nice, and we'll move on with the growing season. Beans, on the other hand, I'm a little more concerned about the soybeans, and I'll talk about that next. Okay, so I moved over to the soybean field here and assessing this field's damage. And what I'm seeing here is there's a couple different things to look at when we're looking at soybeans and freeze damage. So this soybean on this hand, if you look at this, these are the cotyledons. And this is actually the soybean seed as it comes up. But if you look closely here, I don't know if you can see this or not, but right here, we're seeing some new growth coming out there. And that's new growth. So the freeze was Saturday morning, today's Monday evening. But remember, these cotyledons are still green. The unifoliates, the trifoliates at top, the apical bud, they're all toast. They're not going to make it. But because these cotyledons are okay, we're starting to get new growth. The soybean's going to make it, I believe. Now this one, unifoliates are gone, trifoliates, the bud. But then if you look at here, these cotyledons they're fried up. There is, however, a little bit of growth here. I actually think this one's going to make it. It's questionable. Time will tell. Some of these soybeans I've looked at, these cotyledons are completely froze off, and there's right at this joint, there's a little green there. That's new growth. That's new growth. So I think this guy's actually going to make it. It takes an awful lot for these soybeans not to grow back. I am quite optimistic. This in particular situation, I do believe we're going to have to replant just a little bit. One thing I have noticed, and I've heard this talking with other people, where the ground is tilled or there's bare soil, the impact does not seem to be as much. And where it's no-till or there's a lot of residue, then it seems to be more affected. And I assume that's from just thermal warming from the soil, because the soil was warm this late in the season. But where there was residue, it acted kind of as a blanket, and it got more impacted from that freeze event. So that's what to look at for soybeans. Again, cotyledons, look at that node there to see, or that bud, to see if there's any new growth, and that should help assess that stand. So anyway, that's the Northeast Iowa Crop Report post-freeze here on Memorial Day 2021. My name's Nick Benson.